Instagram takes a few seconds to kick in, so I just have to wait for that to start latching in. And can you do me a favor too? If you have system sounds turned on for your computer, like did you just have like an email or something come in or
Yeah,
a text?
I just said
If you
no
could,
noise, everybody.
yeah, or put on focus or something. Yeah, because I just heard
Yeah,
that, and you probably get a lot of emails because you are a big.
I do. Let's see. I can turn off system sounds. I have
Yeah,
do
that
not
should work.
disturb on.
Yeah, if you have like the focus on or do not disturb, you should be good.
Okay. It still made the noise though. I don't think I'm going to need to mess
Are you on a Mac or a PC?
Mac.
Yeah, I would do focus seems to work for me, I think. So I don't know.
Let's see. Alert and sound effects. I'm going to turn all of that off.
That should be fine. If it
Why?
starts happening, what we can do is, even though we're live, it's not a big deal. What I can do is say like, hey, let's pause for a second. Let's figure out how, because you probably get that all day long. And it's really hard to pull out in post-production. So if it happens, we'll figure it out. So don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm having some issues with my laptop apparently. Okay, sound. It's not letting me edit it.
Is your do you have is your phone connected to your, like, is your phone if like how I do it is I just do it straight from my phone. So I just pull down and I just hit focus and that turns it on my Mac.
Oh, it is on my Mac. It's just
okay,
not.
gotcha.
Yeah, I think we should be good. I closed out of everything too.
Cool. Thanks. All right, here we go. Okay, just checking our levels. Yeah, we're good. Our guest today is Kina De Santis, founder and owner of Reframe from Orange County, California. She also has office. Let me start that over. That was take two. Live mistakes. I'll just say from Southern California. Yeah. Our guest today is Kina De Santis, founder and owner of Reframe from all throughout Southern California. Let me tell you more about Kina. Now, she is the realtor and founder of Reframe. Kina De Santis is a trailblazer in the real estate world, recognized by the National Association of Realtors as a 30 under 30 honoree for this year, 2024. Her remarkable career began in 2020 as a new agent, learning and building to achieve over 200 million in sales. Again, during her 20s, which she is still in. From her early days working independently, Kina's ambition and talent quickly led her to start a team before ultimately founding her own brokerage, where they have initiated year-over-year growth in volume every year since 2020. Kina's rise to prominence started on TikTok, where her unique blend of education and entertainment attracted a large and loyal audience. By connecting with a new generation of home buyers through authentic, relatable content, Kina transformed her social media following into a thriving client base. Her success in using digital platforms to drive real-world results set her apart early on and remains central to her approach today. I want everybody to follow Kina at two places: on Instagram, which is ReframeRE, and also on TikTok, which is SoulCal_Realtor. We will have a link to both of those in the show notes. Her website is reframere.com. Also link to that in the show notes. Kina, pleasure to have you on the show.
Hello. I'm also at Realtor Kina on Instagram if you want to see the content that I'm about to talk about.
Awesome. Well, I am. Yes. You have done a lot in your career at such a young age. And truthfully, that's one of the most inspiring sort of bios to be able to read, because it's inspiring to me. And I love talking to agents who really just knock it out of the park pretty early on. I love to hear sort of how you did that, and how you're continuing to grow your team, and in a tough environment too. It's not like this is the easiest time to have positive increased growth. I know our brokerage, we have about 800 agents here, and our brokerage is down from last year. So it is always inspiring to hear brokerages that are really crushing it, and maybe I can learn a few things to pass on to our agents. So let's start at the beginning. So how and why did you get into real estate?
I actually have a tech background. And so if you came to our office, you can kind of see I've got snacks in the corner. It looks like a tech office. We have a bunch of snacks. We have uh, monitors at all of our desks. We've got standing desks. It's just kind of like the environment I came from. And so I'm kind of recreating that, and also the agility of a tech company or like of a startup company where every other week we have a meeting about changes to our processes and our planning and like how we handle things. So, yeah, I definitely brought that with me. I was on the operational side in tech. And so it was all about like community and really understanding how to be agile. And then I got my license because, probably like a lot of your listeners, I thought, oh, like I'll just buy a house, I'll invest, and then I don't have to pay commissions and
Sure, of course.
it'll
Yeah.
be better. And it's so interesting because this year I actually bought a home locally in Southern California, but just not in my market. And I actually paid one of my agents to represent me because I'm like, I don't know that market. You bring me the deal, I'll buy it. And it's like I'm paying an agent when I run the
Well,
brokerage as an agent on my team.
there is an expression that says an attorney that represents himself or herself has a fool for a client. So there is benefit in working with an independent third party, but it is funny because people a lot of times get their license for that reason, and then it's not uncommon to hear like, I actually have had a realtor, for my own deals.
Yeah, it's like once you do that, you realize the value of a realtor and how much information there is and how like financially beneficial it is. And you're like, yeah, all day long, I'll do that. So
So
why?
one of the things I want to talk about process, because you come from the IT world. That's my background as well, and I love this idea of being agile and being able to make changes, as you said, to process every couple of weeks. And so, tell us a little bit about like what does that mean? Because I would love to hear about how you guys are constantly refining, the steps you take to have success, and you again are having incredible success year over year. So whatever refinements you're making are clearly working. So walk us through a little bit of that.
Okay, are you familiar with like the startup accelerator model?
No.
Okay, so a startup accelerator model is where they'll say like they'll have a group of investors and they'll have 10 businesses come in and they'll say, those are the 10 businesses we're going to help week after week refine what they're doing. And we'll look at all of you individually and just try to like focus on you. That's not our exact model, but I would say that's like the closest thing I just kind of realized this year. I'm like, I've got, my 10 agents. Every week we're meeting. I'm going over what they're doing, trying to figure out how to make tweaks. We also
Ah,
have infrastructure on overall what we're doing. We have playbooks for literally anything. We're not a brokerage that's like just close your deal and be done. We're 100% about like we always say we want to be your realtor for life. Like when you work with us, you have a lifelong relationship, even if you never buy and sell again. And we make it really clear like our business model is to be the best, to be the most high touch, but not just for super luxury, but even for someone who's buying, which in Southern California is like the lowest price condo you can get, like a $400,000 condo.
right.
And it's like so interesting because a lot of the people who've been successful in Orange County, Southern California with doing a lot of sales, they burn and churn them. And
Sure.
only when you see people at higher price points do they get the actual attention and care of someone who's a real fiduciary. And so, not just being a fiduciary, but also having all of the like love and support after. That's our business model. And it's really simple. We don't try to do the most deals that we can do. We just try to do all of the ones that we're doing the best way possible. And that's how we've grown.
I love that. It's funny you mentioned the, are you familiar with the sort of the accelerator model? I should be because I have invested in businesses where I'm like an angel investor in that
Yeah.
exact same accelerator process. And you're absolutely right. The way you were explaining what you do with your team is what, and I don't really do that now, but what I have done before with, we help individual companies and give them guidance and consultation. And that's a really interesting idea. So tell me some of the things that you're doing so when you say like you want to be the best and the most high touch, tell us what does high touch mean to you?
It means that like if someone has a question, we probably want to know they're going to ask that before they actually ask and have a resource ready for them or give them the information even unprompted. Like that's to the highest level, right? A lot of people want to automate with like I get it, the automatic emails, this thing, that thing. Those are really great actually. I do like that. But what we're doing now is we're introducing virtual assistants to help take the lift off of being high touch, because it's also not necessarily financially sustainable to be, spending maybe 100+ hours per transaction, um, writing out the emails from scratch every time, right? That's why we've got
Right.
templates. That's why we have information being processed a certain way. We have vendors that we also like working with that have decent pricing and keep their pricing good for our clients. So it's really, we're trying to be all around, like very well rounded instead of just good at one thing.
So the team, I'm assuming you probably have some repository for the team where a lot of these resources kind of live. Maybe it's an internal wiki or something to that effect, so that it, and it's really a brilliant idea because there's only so many questions that a realtor gets asked, and to be able to sort of identify those with a solution really does make you incredible. And also, again, think about the time. Well, you already know this, but the time save on that is amazing because you only have to write the answer once and maybe review it every so often to make sure it's still accurate. But
For
it's
sure.
great to just to go, oh, I just have to retrieve that data, throw it out. So do you guys, are you so I imagine you're sort of a tracking person too. Are you guys tracking all sorts of, okay, tell us about your tracking systems. I want to hear this.
So we're looking at, well, like on the long end, I'm looking at each agent's individual, like numbers, units, where they're coming from. Most people come from our social media. Even my agents, home buyers and home sellers come from social media. We're trying to understand like what that touch point looked like ahead of time. We're also, looking at, um, just like overall who's actually like being involved with the brand post close of escrow. So that is
Ah,
also a pretty good indicator of, future referrals that we'll get. I will say, like, something to really understand is we're also looking at sentiment, which isn't something you can really like say, here's
hmm,
the number of our sentiment this week, right?
yeah,
Um, but our most part, our buyers and our sellers are coming from social media, and they're
yeah,
reaching out to us. And because they're meeting us from an algorithm, we have this like really good connection. Our culture is really tight. If there's ever a time where, someone's not a culture fit, or the effort isn't there, or the ethics aren't there, they're off the team pretty fast.
sure.
And it's, even if we like somebody, those three things have to be there, because those three things make a good agent. And that's what the people who reach out to us are looking for. So we're also really keeping that into account. We're not trying to be the biggest brokerage. I actually don't want a lot more agents. I just want to be lean and mean.
Yeah, it makes sense, and it's really interesting this the social media model because it's incredibly hard to crack and to gain any sort of real following that's going to ultimately generate enough leads to create a business even for one agent. In your case, you have a lot more than one agent. So tell us about sort of how that came to be. How did you start? How did you kind of begin to develop a following on social?
When the pandemic started, my husband was like, "You should be on TikTok. You should be posting on TikTok." And I actually sold my first home when the pandemic started, like by myself. And I was so fresh. And so I started posting every single day. And I don't know if people had really done this before. I'm sure because it's not that original of an idea. But I think I might have been like the first agent, at least in my market, that was posting what X gets you in X city, right? So
Oh,
what
I like that.
$1 million gets you in Tustin or Orange or Villa Park. And that started catching like really well. I started incorporating like just lessons that I had learned, information that I think people needed to know. When I started in real estate, really nothing was about real education. It was all like, here's the steps and here's how to reach out to me.
And
And it
or
was,
here's me at the gym working out, and here's me with my dog, and me realtors
yeah.
do this all the time. Yeah,
Yeah, and like for me, the easiest thing is if I can just provide value, people will just show up at my door. And honestly, that's how it works. I don't, I'm not against, the cold callers and the dialers and the door knocking, because I have agents who do that on my team, and they're trying to sniff out deals for some of our clients, and that's amazing.
yeah,
But for me, we have such a big opportunity in our local market to really make a difference. You know, like when I go to an open house, I don't think I've had an open house in the last like couple of years where somebody hasn't walked in and been like, I know you. And I'm like,
Get
TikTok?
wow.
Instagram? And they're like, wow, you're exactly like who you are online. And I'm like, yeah, because like I'm not trying to be cool, you know, I'm just trying to like be helpful. And that's fine, you know, like everyone has their own thing. Some people want to be cool, they want to present a certain
Look a
image.
certain way. Yeah, sure.
Mhm. But
But
I
you know what's
think,
funny? You know what's funny about that though is that is that is very common, right? Like it's common to try to look perfect and have perfectly well lit, cool shots with professional, photog or videographers, and do really cool video things. Like, yes, you can. That's not hard. You can hire someone to do that,
mm,
but to actually provide real value, that's actually hard. It's really not that hard, but it's not something, again, most people just think visually. They're like, how do I make this look the best, or how do I make this sort of sparkle in a certain way? And yes, and obviously that works too. But I think that's a much more crowded space than the like,
yeah,
hey, are you thinking of moving to Fullerton? Like, let's talk about what $400,000 gets you, right?
yeah, yeah.
Like that's
Wow.
actually useful, right?
It's
Yeah.
great that you know Fullerton, and also $400,000 gets you a third of a house.
Yeah. Well, my favorite band of all time is from Fullerton. Well, the Beatles are my favorite band of all time, but my second favorite band is Social Distortion, who is from Fullerton.
Oh, yeah. They're still, I think half of them are still
They're
local guys.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Ness was this. Nobody cares about this but me and Kino, but he was just given the key to the city recently. But anyway, so I'm a big Social D fan.
Oh, me too.
But yeah, so I love your area, and I was telling Kino my aunt grew up. My aunt lives in Orange, so I've been out her way a bit. Where a lot of people outside of Southern California don't even understand that Orange is a town. Like they
Yeah.
just know Orange County. They don't know Orange is an actual thing. But let's talk about, so when you're deciding to make TikTok content or content anywhere, video content, how do you think about, like, where do you get your ideas? Is it from what your clients ask? Is it just wisdom? Are you looking at trends on TikTok to sort of figure out what is getting like, in other words, there's nothing wrong with that either, but looking to see what's currently hitting the highest, or
Yeah, so hear me out. I literally don't research anything of
nice.
trends or what people want to hear. I just talk about whatever I care about and whatever's on my mind and what people have been asking me. I don't spend any People think I spend so much time crafting my content. I don't. I show up, I start talking, and then I leave. That's it. Or like someone will say something and I'm like, okay, let me just make a quick video about this since I'm like talking about it a lot and this is a good like thing for people to actually learn and know. If I do go to a house tour though, I do look for a couple things. I want it to be vacant. I don't want sellers who live in the home and then they're like, why is my house on social media?
Right.
Or two, I also like it to be staged so people can understand the visual, because no one wants to just look at an empty room. That's it. That's like all I really shoot for. I try not to go. There's a lot of content that I've wanted to make that I haven't. And really, I don't do some of that content because I don't want to be disrespectful to the homeowner. Where, for example, it's like a house that's pretty decrepit, or
Yeah.
it's not in the best neighborhood, or it's like super overpriced. So I try not to do anything from a negative standpoint, even though that's really important information for my clients to know. But when they send homes and we're actually searching and like looking at a home together, of course I'm talking about that stuff and pointing out, hey, listen, they didn't do the tile right here. This is going to be a water problem later. And there's water intrusion in these 5 spots, and I can already see it a mile away. We need an infrared scan if you want this house. So that's what's the reality that I'm probably not showing on social media, but I just don't want to
Sure.
be disrespectful.
Sure. And what percentage of your business comes from social media?
Like all of it. So here's the thing. I actually look at the numbers. I looked at the numbers like once a year. And but I mean, obviously I have like a vibe. Everyone comes from Instagram or TikTok, period. If they're not coming from Instagram or TikTok, they're coming from it's a repeat client that originally came
Sure.
from Instagram or TikTok.
Sure.
I do have
Oh
a
yeah, I'm
handful of,
just talking about new business. I get it
yeah,
that you want to be there for life. Yeah.
yeah. or it's like a referral from a client who I closed with that
Sure.
originally found me on social media. So by
Wow.
1 or 2 degrees of separation, it's always social media. Even my SOI, like my actual friends and family, I actually don't market on my personal Instagram. Like there's barely anything about real estate. It's mostly my husband and my dogs. And on my real estate Instagram, I'll like link it. So then sometimes people see it and then I'll, get calls from my friends, and but that's what reminds them that I'm an agent.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting. So, because I would love to talk to you because I'm in the recruiting space, so I recruit realtors, people like you, and nobody's really doing that in my market via social media. And the way that you would do it is instead of just being like, "We're the greatest firm, you should join us." Obviously, nobody wants that, but it would probably be like, "Here's a tip for you for the day," or "Here's an idea of how you can grow
Yeah.
your business." This idea of giving people value along the way. So I'm going to pick your brain when we're done with this at some
Yeah.
point and get some
You know,
ideas. But go ahead.
all of my agents are also found me on social media, and a couple
That's
of
amazing.
referrals from my other agents, but everything is social media. My vendors too.
So can we dispel the myth that, and I know, realtors, every realtor's on Instagram. Very few of them are on TikTok even now. But this idea that only young people who don't want to buy are really still on social is clearly not true. If that's where you're getting the vast
No.
majority of your deals.
You and also, like, I've helped, like, parents from like, older parents, not, like, with two-year-olds. I have a lot of parents with, like, two-year-olds right now. But, like,
Yeah,
parents with teenagers, buy and sell homes or buy their second home or sell their first home and, go move out of state. It's not like what I will say is I think if I was older and I had kids already that were a little bit older and that was part of who I was on social media, I would get more clients like that. I would love more clients like that. But I
sure.
end up getting people who are very similar to me over and
Yeah,
over and over again. And I've
yeah,
seen that as my life has changed. When I started, I had we had just gotten engaged. It was a lot of people getting engaged and people with dogs and not a lot of people with cats. So it's interesting,
right.
right? Because it is from an algorithm. And so it does tend to mirror your life. I do tell my friends that are older and, have older kids, like sharing part of your actual life is helpful. And it is going to bring you those clients that are similar to you,
Definitely.
which is great because those are the people with more money too. Those are great clients, and they are
Yeah.
on TikTok.
Have you ever thought about showcasing any mistakes or not failures in the big sense, but like, oh my God, I didn't get this listing, and and here's what I did wrong, or I don't know if that would resonate as much with the audience, but I'm curious if you ever show
Yeah.
some of the warts, right?
Some some buyers, the only thing that I've like really like I have a conundrum about is some buyers are like, "Are you going to send me homes every single day?" I'm like, "No, no, no. I have that automated. Once a week, I
Yeah,
look at your list and I tell you the ones that you missed that are important to
right.
take a second look at, and then we can go see it." But I feel like like actually sending homes is maybe 2% of our job, maybe,
Right.
right? 2.5
Because
of
they
it.
can find it on their own. They don't need you, right?
And yeah, and so like the thing I've made a piece of content about is like no one is more motivated to look at Zillow and Redfin than you, right? And I
Right.
have been automatically sending things to you every single day. I have an intense amount of responsibilities where the best use of almost any realtor's time isn't sending every single day because it's
Right.
automated. The best
Yeah.
use of our time is, hey, you sent me these ones, you missed two with $50,000. This one could have an extra $100,000 of value, and that's the one I want to
Right.
show you, right?
And that's the value, and that's what Zillow and Redfin and great great websites. I know realtors have. It's funny when realtors fight against technology, especially Zillow, which is clearly here to stay. But
Yeah.
they used to be a sponsor of my show for years, and got so much hate because they're ruining the industry, and I'm like, well, that's an opinion, and I see how well that gets, like how well does that serve you to have that opinion? Whether it's true or not is irrelevant because we still are business owners and we need to all play nice together. But I love that you again, you are providing value. That your whole thing is value, 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 right? And then you don't have to market as much because your marketing, I imagine your marketing budget is pretty small because you attract people through the value, right?
Totally. I don't really feel like we spend money. We don't spend money on ads or literally anything. We just have a social media coordinator and then post videos. Um,
How often are you posting content?
like I try to do one video a day. That's my goal. Like today I filmed 7 videos for next week and hopefully we're going to be good to go. We went to 2 houses. We did the house tours. We talked about a couple of things that buyers don't know about, like little clippets for them to, learn something about home ownership. And then we left. And I went to those homes. I confirmed them this morning. Like I went to the MLS and I was like, can I show your home on video?
So these weren't even your listings.
No, the agents were like, "Please go for it. Thank you. Please
Yeah, well,
tag me."
yeah, please advertise this. Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, 100%. And then I just showed up and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. I should talk about this because buyers don't know that recessed lights, you can change the warmth of the lights, you know?"
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a video. People want to know that
Yeah.
information because a lot of people think you're going to have to, pay hundreds of dollars to do it all yourself, but they're already there. And it's like a little
Yeah.
piece of value. I also have buyers and sellers who've come to me, even though their friends worked with somebody else, but their friend was like, you need to talk to this person. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, thank you for the referral, even though you have your own agent. So it's just helpful information. It's like karma, right? It's like free points. You're like putting money into the karma bucket and it comes
Yeah.
back around at some point.
It does because that law of reciprocity is real. Where and the other thing is, and this I know this from having a podcast, is people feel they know you, and of course when they haven't met you yet, and when they meet you, they feel connected to you in a deeper way because they've seen or heard you so much. In my case, more hearing than seeing, because of my podcast. But it is funny where people will come up and they'll go, I've listened to 400 episodes. And I'm like, 400 episodes? Really? I wouldn't have listened to 400 episodes of me, but I appreciate it. And they go, oh yeah, I really appreciate, I loved your journey through X, Y, and Z. And, it's really wild, but you're right. It is really cool. So you're doing content, you're doing a video a day. And do you have somebody then that edits and sort of produces it for you? Or is it kind of just run and gun or?
No, I need help. I need help editing. I need help scheduling. Um, Back to that startup thing, I do try to hire like as many people as I can to help me, as many people as I can to help me that's cost effective is kind of how I think about it. But no, I do get help. I couldn't do it alone, but not like a full-time person or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's where like virtual assistants can come in really handy. And yeah, let's talk about the role of a virtual assistant because this is probably the biggest missed opportunity outside of doing a lot of social that realtors just either they don't know about. I mean, they know what VA, they've heard the term VA, but what are some of the things that VAs can do to help an agent with just their efficiencies?
So for like the average agent, I think like even drafting offers. So here's the thing, everything we do is like extra, right? Like we write an offer, I'm like, what can we do to sprinkle reframe on that? You know?
Yeah.
So when we write an offer, we actually do the offer paperwork correctly. I don't know if it's like this in your market, but 50% of the offers I'm getting literally aren't even filled out correctly. So we have to, it's
And,
crazy.
and which by the way, psychologically, that puts that person at an immediate disadvantage because you're like, oh, come on, now I have to figure this out for you. And yeah,
Oh, 100%. When we submit an offer, we could be the lowest offer, but if the offers are higher and they're not clean, they're completely incorrectly filled out, that agent, when I call the agent to be like, "Hey, did you get my offer? Here's a little bit about my buyers." They're like, "So listen, if you guys can come up, we'll give it to you." That's most of the homes that we're putting offers in. We're
wow,
almost not usually the highest offer unless a buyer's like, "I'm not leaving money on the table on this one." And the listing agent still wants to work with us because our actual, not just our offer is correct. We do a cover page. We package everything together because listing agents like to print out the offer and only attach one document. Or also, this is so minute, like so detailed into the
no,
psychology,
I
but
love
this is
it.
how we work, right? We write this beautiful offer email. We compliment the listing agent whether or not we had a good experience with them or not. We
Sure.
package it all in one offer package because a lot of times agents, they're either forwarding the emails or they don't want to download 18,000 things into Google Drive and then move it over somewhere else, or they just
Sure.
honestly don't know how to, right? Like
Right.
we're a
Right.
spectrum of technology users here. We include the lender. We talk about our track record. We talk about how amazing the buyer is. But our whole goal is to get that listing agent to just forward the offer to the seller. Because when you're looking at all of the offer emails that come in, I I will be floored if there's another agent in Orange County who sends a better offer package than we do. But it's so much physical, like labor, right? We
Sure.
literally create a cover page on Canva of the house with all of the details so that they don't have to, dig into everything. And when that happens, even the seller gets to see it and is like, they seem easier to work with. They've
Right.
never talked to me before. They still think we're easier to work with for
Right.
no reason other than our package looked nice.
Well,
So we go
Well,
ahead.
what's really funny? I say this a lot, and this is, I think, thanks to Instagram probably more than anything. But we like seeing pretty things. I mean, Instagram is exactly all about seeing pretty things, and it from a marketing perspective, it's a real good idea to put somebody in a good mood when they're looking at an offer. And one of the ways that you can do that, since you're not there personally, is make something that's visually appealing. And it's such a funny thing that you're right. Agents often don't think about what's the aesthetic of this. How is this going to look? Fit again. The content is the content, but the actual aesthetic of it is worth considering. But you're right; it does take a lot of effort. So that's probably something that you can get help with. I'm assuming putting some of that together.
Yeah. So like, and that's just one thing, right? And it saves my agents so much time. The thing is that I'm always trying to do is a transaction is like a group project. And there's
Mhm.
always some kid who does the most work in the group project. And we want everyone to identify us as the kid who does the most work in the group project because
Yeah.
now you'll have an easier time. You'll get a good grade. Everything will be good. That was like, I feel like my aesthetic or my vibe growing up. And we want to keep that and make sure that that's the thing that gets communicated to buyers, sellers, and agents that we work with.
Okay, just got to ask since it's in the news right now. If TikTok goes away, I don't think it's going to. It's too big of an economy of in and of itself. There's just too much money there too. But who knows? The government might do something. And if that happens, you just pivot back. And I know you're on Instagram as well, and you're on. You're just going to pivot and keep going. I'm assuming.
For sure. I mean, look, there's so many changes every single year. There's so many changes
Yeah.
to real
Yeah.
estate in particular. I'm not really concerned if it does happen, then that's okay. I'm still on Instagram. I'm still posting a lot on Instagram and meeting a lot of people from Instagram. We also have an incredible community of close clients that give us a ton of referrals. So I'm not necessarily concerned where I'm like, our business is going to really be hurting from TikTok.
Yeah. Well, and that's right because you're providing content, you're providing value, and if TikTok goes away, something else will take its place, and then you're just putting your value there. And it's little to do with the actual platform, right? It's all about the content. I'd love to know about you talked about being having clients for life. So, what are you doing post sale to stay in touch and to make sure that those people still feel appreciated a year, 2 years down the road?
Yeah, so we call it a 12-month touch. And so that means that once a month, every year, they hear or see our name in some way, shape, or form. So we have and sometimes like we even see them in person. By the way, I have my like close clients show up to my open houses to say hi all the time. So I see people around a lot, which is nice. And I really like everyone, which makes it all worth it. But we have a big Lunar New Year party every year. Everyone's invited. We do a pumpkin patch at my house. I buy hundreds of pumpkins and a coffee cart and a photographer to make everyone's pumpkin patch fun. We do some community coffees for other people to meet everyone. I have all these other ideas of things that I would want to do too, but those are the three big like events that we have. We also have workshops. I really like to get vendors that align with our, I guess, values and how we are. And so we'll do like a trust and will workshop where they'll discount their services for reframe buyers, which is great. He'll do a workshop, teach everybody about trust and will, whether you know them or not. Um,
So we're talking about like estate planning attorneys, right? Like
yeah,
that kind of thing for trust and will. Yeah. So you're
yeah,
basically saying, hey, especially person who just bought a home who's maybe in their early 30s, you are not thinking about a will right now because of course you're not. I want you to come to this thing because we want to protect, your situation.
yeah.
Case the worst sort of thing happens, you need to be protected, and I love that. I very very few agents I've ever heard do those kind of they do first time home buyer seminars, and
Yeah.
and that's great too, but that's a pretty flooded market. Estate planning is not, and for realtors, I love that. You could even get into, and again, this is a bit more of a unfortunate thing, but divorce you could even get into as having, because 56% of marriages right now end in divorce in our country. So it's just a reality. So estate planning attorneys, divorce attorneys, you could really just go on and on with all sorts of amazing content.
Oh, 100%. And it's really like it's not even just like the discount, right, that they're getting. It's the lift. It's like the mental lift
Oh yeah.
of in the back of their mind, they're like, I need to do my trust. I just had a kid. I need a will. Okay, who do I go to? And now it's like, oh, Kina does this every year. Easy, you know?
Yeah. So you're doing client appreciation events like 3 times a year. You're doing workshops throughout the year,
We'll
and
do 2
they're
workshops,
probably, yeah,
market
and
email
you're,
updates. Yeah.
and then you're doing the email market updates. I'm guessing things like that.
Yeah, but like I hate market updates like that.
Nobody reads them. Nobody cares, right?
Yeah. So this next year, I'm gonna also send them like, hey, here's our off markets. If you know anyone, let me know.
Mm,
Um, or like, here's the heads up of like what's going on with Reframe this year. Then you're invited.
yeah. I have an idea for you too. Like this is something that was done, and it's not my idea, but it's an idea that's worked well here in Chicago. This is a brilliant thing, and I don't know how easy it would be for your market or for even further south. I know you have a few offices, but there's a woman here that what she does. I wish she was one of our agents because she's so cool. And what she does is she sends out every Wednesday. Here's what's going on in Chicago this weekend. Here are the things you need to go do. So instead of looking at 100 different things, which is what I end up doing every week, going, okay, what do I want to do this weekend? Her email comes in. It's like 5 things, and it's like because everybody at around Thursday starts going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do this weekend, right? Especially
Yeah.
younger people. So that is a brilliant piece of content that again takes some work and takes some heavy lifting, and that would be maybe a VA could do it, but that is she's the only agent. There's 46,000 agents in Chicago. She's the only one I know that does it. She's done it for 8 years. It's like all her business comes from there. It's brilliant.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
No, I think that hasn't popped into my head because on the weekends all I do is show
You're
homes.
working. Yeah.
That's great. I have a couple clients who do that actually, and they have really cool businesses of like local stuff. It's awesome. I love seeing it.
Awesome. Well, you have, and again, we're talking a lot about social media and content and marketing. We're not really also realizing that you just won this unbelievable award, 30 Under 30. This is a big deal. I have friends that have won it. I've had lots of award winners on the show who have, who've been there, and it's always the biggest superstars. And what's really cool is if anyone's out there sort of wanting to go for that, one of the best parts of it is you get invited into a little secret group of all the other 30 under 30 peeps. And it's like a mastermind of the very sort of, at least maybe not the very best agents, because who knows who's the best agent, but certainly agents that are doing some really cool stuff. So tell us about that process and what that meant to you to sort of earn that award.
So 30 under 30, when I showed up to my first like big event, they were like, listen, this is the most exclusive real estate group you can join and you can't pay to get in.
Right.
You
That's
have
true. Yeah.
and it's so interesting because they had all of these like speakers who are obviously they've been in the 30 under 30 for, maybe a decade or more. And you're seeing what they're doing. And you're like, wow, okay, that's what the future looks like. Right. And maybe you're even doing some of the things like that they do, and it's people from all over the country, by the way. So in California, real estate is part of the culture here. Everyone's a real estate agent, and we all kind like that's the thing, right? Orange County, everyone made their money in real estate. And so it's very part of the culture. However, when you go and you talk to people in other areas, you're like, wait, this is so different than how we do it. And you're still learning like all of the different things that they're doing. And it's
Yeah.
interesting to see like what you can apply. I will say
Yeah.
it's like the best people, like everyone
Yeah.
really wants to help you, and everyone made the list together at some point. And there's so much like, I want to give back, that you're just like overwhelmed with so much help and information.
Yeah. It's a wonderful thing, and congratulations to you. And not only did you do that, you started a brokerage, you have a pretty large team, and you've done this all within, a handful of years. It's not like you've been doing this for decades, which is usually what it takes to get to own my own brokerage, have my own team. It's an incredible amount of, so I would imagine one of the challenges you must experience. I'd love to know what your biggest challenge is, but I'm going to guess just sort of wearing so many hats. That must be difficult. Or maybe not. Maybe your processes are so amazing that it's not.
So, okay, so this is the first year that we hit 100 homes. We did 88 million this year, which is very exciting. We didn't quite hit, we did 60 million last year, and I really wanted to hit 100 this year, but we didn't hit it, which is okay.
It's a
It's still,
tough year. It is a tough year. And you went up
yeah,
still pretty good. Yeah.
yeah, we hit the 45% goal, which is very cool. And there's so many big things for the future, and there's so many opportunities, right? And I want to do everything, and I do wear a lot of hats. I am pretty good at hiring out. Hiring is actually the number one thing I think about. Selling homes to me, I'm like, easy. If you don't want the home, don't buy the home. If you want the home, here's the home, and I'll help you figure out all the problems that might come with it or could come up along the way. And that to me, I'm like, no problem. Helping people, easy. Making sure that your team is all at their best situation, right? People have personal things going on, family members pass away, relationship problems. That's actually like a lot of what we're dealing with, not just with the agents, by the way, also with clients. And
Sure.
so you're really dealing with like big emotional things on a consistent
Yeah.
basis, and also trying to help everybody around you be their best. At the same time, I also actually, and a lot of people don't know this, I have an autoimmune disease that really impacts me from like being my best every day. So
Mm,
that's why I'm really systems oriented, because there's times where I'm not at my best and I have to rely on others because I physically can't do it. So it's been a challenge, but it's doable. It's
yeah.
just a lot.
Yeah, I have a girlfriend with an autoimmune disease as well, and hasn't it isn't a constant challenge in her life, but when it is, it is. And
Yeah.
she's an attorney, and so she systems are everything for her as well. So I can appreciate that work. And again, just another thing for you to deal with on top of running a team, a brokerage, doing your own production, creating content, and then keeping all the clients engaged and happy. Beyond the transaction. So it is. So tell me, what's the biggest challenge? Everyone's got a challenge in their business. What's the biggest opportunity for growth for you guys, or the biggest thing you need to work on and fix?
I think for us right now, it's maintaining that high. So we've grown, right? And we're, like I mentioned, we're really high touch. I want to maintain the high touch like effort that we put with our clients, standardize it a little bit more so that everyone's always up and trained to the level that we want everyone to be. And just make sure that we're optimizing everything that we're doing, right? And I do think
Yeah.
that the way to do it is with virtual assistants. We're again, like we're actually in the office. Like I can see my agents walking behind this computer. They're in the
So
office
the
on the
agent the agents come in. The agents come in. Yeah.
they come in. I try to make it a nice environment, right? They want standing desks, they got standing desks. They wanted new chairs, we just got these chairs. So it's where I'm really like, I think about my agents a lot. Like I actually am like up at night and I'm like, what does Chi Chi need for her
Yeah.
business? And then the next
Yeah.
day I'm like, Chi, or actually, to be honest, at night I'm like, Chi Chi, tomorrow, let's meet for 15 minutes. And then we'll meet for 15 minutes. And I'm like, you should do this video thing and you should change how you're doing it so you can segment your audiences better and, make sure you're targeting who you want. She'll literally, after that meeting, go do it. And then this happened this year. She got 500,000 views on a video all because at night I was like, la, 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 la. And then she was like, got it. I'm going to implement it. I'm going to make it my own, do my own thing. And then she literally did. And she's like took it and went on a whole roll and is closing 14 homes this year. Last year, before she joined Reframe, she was selling one home a year. And
Wow.
so like I'm really thinking about everybody on like a professional but also personal level. Like what do people need to make things make sense?
And, and you basically took her, which ultimately you would think is a dual career agent, one home a year. You know, they're probably doing other things to support themselves, or they have a different situation where it's not as important. And now you're turning them into a single career agent, and like that's an incredible thing. That is a difficult thing to go from dual career to single career, and you basically just with one idea, you know, and I'm sure it's more than just one idea, but with the ideas you shared, you basically showed this pathway that she could take. That's very different from a lot of the traditional sort of how do you grow your business pathways, which is, you know, sphere of influence focused, which is great and that works certainly. And I think that tends to work in rural environments really, really well. When somebody's in a smaller community where there's just not as much, not as many people, you really have to sort of, you know, be out and about in the community, and I'm sure you are as well in your communities, but this idea of, you know, the smaller communities really have to focus, I think, more on that. But this is amazing. So I have taken up a lot of your time, and I want to give it back to you because you have. I thought I had a lot of responsibilities. You have more than even I. So I'm going to thank you on first of all, before we end, I want to. I want to ask one last question. What's the best piece of advice? Because you talked about, you know, 30 under 30, or just any mentors that you may have had outside of that. What's the best piece of advice you ever got for your real estate business, if it comes to mind?
My best piece of advice. You know, I don't think it's a real estate advice. I think you could start out as a solo agent, but essentially you're always running your own business. I read like 100 business books since I was 17, like before I was in real estate. So I'm like a business person doing real estate. I probably won't be in real estate like in this capacity forever. You know, I'll
Sure.
have a good different
No, you're
business or like a
growing.
real
Yeah.
estate tech company, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like if you're in a situation where you can help other people, it's so cheesy, but like if you really can help other people and you have a good intention, you will be okay. It'll come back to you. People are, you know, everyone's like, why are you helping your agents grow their business? They're going to leave you. And I'm like, what? Then why would I want them on my team if they don't want to grow their business, you know?
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? Like there's a space for everyone at different times, but ultimately like overall, I'm like, you know what? I will help everyone grow their business. And then I'm going to help them figure out how to optimize their investing. And then I'm going to figure out how we can all
Yeah.
optimize our lives together. And then I'm going to get the back end system so that everyone can work less, make more money, and clients can be happy. And there's always going to be a problem to solve. But if you're solving the
Sure.
problem with good intentions, how hard it would be so hard to fail, you know, in that situation. So that's
And
like personal opinion.
and also back to I don't want to gloss over the fact that you've read 100 business books because most people don't even read one book a year. And if all you do, listeners, is read 5 books this next year, you're going to get good information from, you know, if you pick good content. So, you know, get off TikTok a little bit every day so that you can in fact read, because there's just so much wisdom. I can't imagine how much wisdom you must have had. It's almost like getting like 5 MBAs reading 100 business books.
Yeah.
It's invaluable. And then of course the other thing is providing value. Like the end of the day, people respond to value, and because we all want answers, we all have questions and we need answers, and we don't have the time to seek it out. So I love that you're creating that kind of content. So everyone who's listening, let's go check out Kina's content. There's a couple places to go on TikTok, SoCal_realtor. On Instagram, it's Reframe RE. And if you want to check out her really pretty website, it's at reframere.com. I always like a clean and simple website, and she does a really nice job of, you know, looking a little different than some of the more traditional websites that you might see for agents. And I suspect that probably works to your favor as well. So on behalf of our audience, I want to thank Kina. She is amazing, and we we are going to continue. In fact, for no other reason than take her ideas and apply them to your own business. Unless you're in her market, then don't do that. But everywhere
Maybe
else in
you're
the
in my
country,
market.
you could do that. No, I'm teasing. Kina wouldn't care because she knows that she is really the brand for her business, and of course everyone who's listening, you're the brand as well. So let's create your own brand. Let's watch what other agents are doing, especially in the video space. If you're like, I don't really do that, now's the time to think about it and get in. SoCal_Realtor on TikTok, Reframe RE on Instagram. And Kina, on behalf of the audience, thank you. You are amazing, and we're going to continue to watch you grow, and we'll have you back from time to time because you will have new things to talk about. And I'm excited to continue our conversations. And also, on behalf of Kina and myself, we want to thank the audience for making it all the way to the end of the episode. That means a lot to me personally and to Kina, as well as our entire Keeping It Real team. We've been doing this for 7 years now. And by the way, we have our first webinar coming up. I should be promoting this more on January 7th. If you are interested, we have 3 speakers. We're going to do a live webinar, including a live coaching session. We have also a $290 million annual producer is coming on to say, here's how I generate leads. And we have Kim Ritberg, who is a former TV exec from California, now in New York, who will tell you exactly how to do it better on video. So the best way to do that is go to keepingitrealwebinar.com. It's $49. We're just, have to pay the bills to make sure we can turn it on. And other than that, you'll get so much incredible value there. And again, the best way you can help us grow as a podcast is to tell a friend. Just think of one other realtor in your business or in your office that could use a little bit of help. This was a pretty cool conversation. This is one that had a lot of actionable ideas. So send this off to your favorite realtor who might just help them for 2025. Because let's remember, it's tough out there right now. Let's make it as easy as possible. Let's help each other with value. Kina's all about value, and so are we here at Keeping It Real. So I want to thank everyone for making it to the end, and we will see everybody on the next episode. And if this, I think this comes out before the end of the year, so happy holidays and happy New Year. And Kina, same to you and your team.